I was a freshman in college in Tallahassee, Florida during the 2017 to 2018 school year. Let me preface this by saying I never believed in the supernatural or paranormal prior to my experiences there. So the summer after my HS graduation, many of my friends had to take a mandatory summer term as a sort of orientation at FSU. I went to the community college to transfer so I didn't have to. I went to visit for a weekend to kind of get a feel for the city before I moved up in the fall. While I was staying in my friend's soon-to-be roommate's dorm room, he woke me up on his way to his morning class, so I figured I would take a walk around the campus. When I entered the stairwell, I noticed the initials TB written on the window like someone would with their finger against the morning dew. I figured it was some type of tradition the kids did, so I tried to write my own initials, except I couldn't because they were written from the outside. That was the third floor of a stairwell. I did not know anything about Ted Bundy besides him being a serial killer. No clue his killings were in Tallahassee, or that there were ghost stories attached either. Fast forward to the fall semester, and we lived in a house just across from San Luis Park, which was a nature trail attached to a historic mission from the 1800s. The whole trail is a complete circle with paths that branch off toward the center if you want to cut through it quicker, except for one spot where there is a perfect fork in the road. I remember being with two of my roommates walking our dog along the trail when we came across it. We stood there for about a minute or so deciding which way to go, but I looked up and there was a Grim Reaper doll sitting on a tree branch about 30 to 40 feet up in the air. I thought nothing of it at the time, as it looked like it could have just been a Halloween decoration. Why someone would go through all the trouble to put it up there, I haven't the slightest idea. I mean, the tree stood about 15 feet behind the fork with thick brush in between. Then Hurricane Irma hit us. When I got back to Tallahassee, the first thing I did was go down the trail to see if it was still walkable. I arrive at the fork and notice the tree is still there but the Grim Reaper isn't. So I decided to look around a little for it. It took me about 5 minutes and I was about to give up, but right when I told my roommate, "Dude, where the F is it?" I look up and there it is. Not laying on the ground, but sitting perfectly upright on the branch that had been knocked clean off the tree. Again, I did not believe in the paranormal, so I took it home with me as I figured it would make a nice addition to the house. And boy did it. The roommate in the master bedroom was the resident stoner of the house, so we would always partake in our herbs and wax in there. One day I was out of class early and home before anyone else, so I went in there to roll up. As I'm rolling, I notice the box fan on his nightstand started rocking back and forth a little. My instinct was to call his dog, but he was downstairs at the time, so my next thought was, did a rat just run by and hit the power cord? I got down on my hands and knees, face against the floor, and scanned the whole room. Nothing. His bed was raised, his dressers were raised, I could see the whole floor from where I was, and I was alone. As I'm getting up and walking back to the table, I hear something, so I turn around. Something pushed the door open, and I still don't know what it was. A few months go by and not much happened in between, but I do remember looking in the woods directly adjacent to our house. The trail where I found the doll was on the opposite side of the street. There were decades-old beer cans and plastic bottles, but I found an old sword just sitting there. So I took it home because who doesn't want a sword, right? Now it's the end of spring semester, and we're all getting ready to move out. This is when the weird stuff starts happening. We had a ton of shit that was just gonna get thrown out, so we got the sword out and started doing what guys do best. Sure as shit, the decrepit old thing breaks right off the hilt, but that wasn't gonna stop us. One of my friends grabbed the bare blade and basically cut his palm open while he was messing with it. We go back inside and sit up on the counter next to the sink while we put pressure on the cut to stop the bleeding. It wasn't a nasty gash that needed stitches, but he ended up going completely limp and pretty much falling over, banging his head on the cabinet. He woke up shaking and covered in sweat. He isn't hemophobic, and he definitely didn't lose that much blood, so it was just a very weird thing. Now it's move out time. Everything was put into a U-Haul, and we were sleeping on bedrolls in the living room for our last night. There were 6 of us plus 3 friends from back home, all waiting downstairs for the Ubers to show up and take us to the bars. While we're waiting, there's a loud boom from upstairs. It was directly above us, coming from the master bedroom. It sounded like a bowling ball had been rolled off of the bed. I went upstairs to check it, but the room was empty. Nobody in it, nothing in it. Everything was in the U-Haul already. It was an empty room. I figured it was the ghost's way of saying bye guys, thanks for being good sports. It's been 7 years and that noise still haunts me to this day.